edition. And the topic today is the deep web. Are you aware of what's beneath the surface? I believe this is a very interesting topic. Basically, we want to bring some awareness about this. And that's what Rafael will do in a second. So thanks again for being here. If you have any questions, just leave them on the chat, or you can also participate, raise your hand and we'll take your question. Thanks again. Edgar, over to you.
Thank you, Gabby, and thank you, Rafael. Great to have you back here with us again. Looking forward to know more about this topic, and I want to know, is it like dangerous to talk about or to explore the deep web, or what else is in there that we should be aware of, right? So I know that there are things in there that we need to know, and really looking forward to hearing more about it. So over to you.
Awesome. Thank you very much, guys, for having me today here. I'm very glad to be a recurring speaker for you guys. Always really nice to do this podcast with you guys. Thank you very much. And yeah, as we were talking right about deep web, and you said something very important. You said, is it something that we can actually explore or search? Not really, right? So basically, normally in IT, you do the analogy of an iceberg, right? So because you normally use the terminology a little bit like back in the 90s, you always say navigating the web, right? So basically, you're comparing it with a sea, right? And that surface that we see, right, and that tip of the iceberg that we see, is basically what we will call the navigating the web, right, or browsing over the internet. In this case, that would represent anything that is searchable, right, like that is indexed by search engines, right? Like back in the days, Yahoo, right? And now Yahoo still exists, but it's not popular anymore, right? So we have Google as well. We have the search engine being by Microsoft, and a lot of other ones that are not really popular. But basically, that is what we call, right, the surface. All that is searchable by a search engine, right? And that we can navigate and find through search engines, right? Now, when we call the deep web, right, it's basically what we don't see on the surface, and not necessarily needs to be like illegal things, right? But it could be. But I want to make it clear that even though you cannot search for anything on the deep web, you can definitely find it using a web browser, a regular web browser, right? So basically, there is you'll see in some the examples I have here, I'll say email accounts, right? And when I say email accounts, you'll say, well, but I'm able to find Gmail and Outlook, right, and create free email accounts. Yeah, but the database is not public, right? It's not something that you can point at and search or find. And when you have like private email servers, right? Normally you don't make them like searchable, right? Like something that anyone can just search on Google and find something. Same for online banking, subscription services, right? And corporate intranets like VPNs that we connect to, right? Those are the 90% actually of the internet is the deep web, which basically represent all those services that are not indexed and that are not searchable by search engines, right? But that make our life easier, right? For instance, all the database of Netflix with videos and shows and all that stuff that we like, it's not publicly there for anyone to access unless you already authenticate through an authentication server, right? And get your credentials, and then it gives you access to the specific part that you have permissions or you have purchased to, right? So basically, that's what it is, the deep web. So why can be like some illegal stuff there? So sometimes people hang for saying it somehow, right? Like illegal content on the deep web, right? And the thing is, even though you're not able to search it with a search engine, as long as you know the right address or the right domain where to point at, you're able to get there to see the content that they're publishing, right? So and that's why we call the deep web, right? So that's why it could be still dangerous, because whenever you point, like, I don't know if it ever happened to you guys, you're trying to go like to google.com and you mistype the name and ended up in a totally different place, right? So normally those are sites, published on the deep web, that basically what it does is it's try to confuse you thinking that you're going to the right place, right? And then you ended up going to a malware site.
Rafa,
Now, what's the big difference?
sorry.
Go ahead, Gabby.
Quick question here to see if I'm understanding. So you can access the deep web by mistake?
Yeah, because again, and that's where I'm going to make the big distinction. So the deep web is one thing, and the dark web, it's a totally different animal. So the deep web is what we call, again, any service that is not on the surface, right? Any service that you're not able to search through the internet, right? So that's what we call the deep web. Now, and the big difference with the dark web, right? So the dark web, you're not able to search it with any search engine. You're not able to access it with anything like Gmail, Edge, or any web browser that you normally know. But even though it uses HTTP and HTTPS protocols, right? But the dark web, it's basically a place where there's no restrictions at all. Okay. And the only way to access it is with specific tools. Like normally the most popular one is just the web browser Tor. So it's Tor, right? And whenever you download and install Tor, and obviously you will need to follow some specific procedures for you to be more secure. That's definitely dangerous, right? So because when you go to the dark web, basically it's nothing that can be indexed on by Google search engines or Microsoft search engines. It's a totally different place where everything is permitted, right? So in the dark web is where you can see a content like people selling like drugs, right? Or people like normally journalists, they put stuff that they are afraid, right, to say it on the surface, right, on the normal web, on the dark web. So a lot of people, for some information, if they trust the source of the person or of the site that you're reaching on the dark web, they go there for information, or basically it's a place where you can do whatever you want and nobody's gonna say anything about it, or no restrictions. You're totally anonymous there. Now, the fact that you're anonymous there, that doesn't mean that it's secure, right? So there is a lot of encryption to get in there. If you're gonna get and explore the dark web, you gotta be aware of what are the risks, right? And the risks are those that no site is there is really secure 100%, and it doesn't matter what measures you take. You're never going to be 100% secure. So recommendations are that you use like a virtual machine to access it, VPN to access it, right? The Tor web browser, which has a bunch of protocols that you can actually make more secure. Actually, the protocol used in the dark web, it's called Onion, just because it has a lot of layers of encryptions, right? And these layers of encryptions are based on TCP, which is the Secure Transfer Protocol. And basically, in the dark web, when you get there, you're gonna see a lot of stuff that you didn't think the internet could have, and it's not normally the domains is not like .com. You almost all the domains you got there is like that Onion there. So
Okay.
it's a totally different place, but it leaves. That's why I think the analogy with the iceberg, right? You're just seeing just the tip of the iceberg, right? And then the deep web is the part that you don't see, but it's still the part that you know for certain somehow. But then you have the very dark web where actually you're not seeing anything unless you purposely go there, right? So basically, you can fall into some places of the deep web by mistake, definitely, right? But you cannot fall into the dark web by mistake at all. It's
Right.
a different way to access it, different
Yeah.
way to navigate it, different protocols, different everything.
I have
So
a question here. So no, it's not a question, it's more like a statement to see if you agree. So we can say that the deep web has a risk that is maybe from low to moderate, but then the dark web has a very high risk of,
I
I don't
wouldn't
know.
say related to risk because, as I said, the deep web is our same web that we normally use. It's just sites that are not publicly indexed, right? Like no, a search engine cannot find them at all. Like for
Okay.
instance, when you maybe a Cogent, right? You guys have a VPN, right? A VPN is a virtual private network. And normally you have a virtual private network because you want to extend your local network, right, to your house, right, or to Edgar's house, right? So that way he's within the private networks of the company with all the good stuff and all the good protection that the company has, right? So that way the company prevents from you to leaking information or XYZ security protocols in place, right? So when you do that, like you're not gonna make a site, right, that is publicly out in the search engines for Google that say, hey, here is the site where you can get authenticated and and reach for Cogent, the virtual private network. No, normally you just use a client in your computer. You can use a web client as well. So, but again, you're not going to find it searching through the internet, right? You just need, maybe Cogent is going to tell you, hey, go to vpn.cogent.com, right? And authenticate with your credentials here and getting the VPN, right? For Cogent. So that's a good example of the deep web, right? So you're not publishing this, right? But it's out there, and as long as you know how to go there, yeah. A good example normally I have is with addresses as well, right? Like you can't go to a place if you don't know where it is, but in this case, that address is not going to be in Google Maps, right? So something like that.
Okay, okay. But then if we talk about risks, we
When
would
we
say,
talk about risk, is because basically there is a lot of people that normally take like very popular sites, right? I'll say, well, that's one of the things that I can see, like Google.com, and let's say they spell Google with double E at the end, right? And then you ended up falling on another site, and it's a malicious site. Now, the other risk that you have is that there are some sites that you can reach, like for illegal content, like illegal movies, right, or illegal series or music that you want to download for free, and then it's not, the site is not going to be publicly, published, like for search engines to index it, but you're gonna be able to find them if a friend tells you, "Hey, go to this site, go to this place, right? Like get here, connect with this little application, and just put this address, right?" So that's gonna be deep web. Yeah, it can be dangerous. Why? Because you're trusting whoever's giving you the information, but that you don't have any right that is like guaranteeing you that this is legit or good or bad or anything like that. So you always have the risk of downloading viruses and things like that.
right, right. So then how can like an average person protect themselves from like falling into the website accidentally?
I would say just don't trust sites that you don't know, right? And make sure like whenever you search for a site, if you're searching, right? So basically, make sure you're going where you're intending to, right? Because you can see Google has like validated sites and things like that on the links. And another good tip is that if you see something odd, just verify your domain and make sure you're going to the domain you're supposed to go to. Uh, Another example I can give you, I don't know if you're ever been like browsing on LinkedIn, right? And whenever you click on a link on LinkedIn, it tells you stuff like, hey, this is going out of LinkedIn. Are you sure you trust the source, right? And it's because of that, because that means that it is posted on LinkedIn. It doesn't mean that someone with malicious intention put it there, for you to go there.
Right, right, right. Okay. All right. And then that we were talking about how we need to have a tool to access the dark web, right? Now, the risk there is big, right?
Yeah,
In terms
yeah.
of,
On the dark web, you have a big risk. Why? Because that's the popular one that everybody says that, oh yeah, on the dark web, this happened, that happens. So a good example, part of the popularity of cryptocurrencies, right? Were the dark web as well, right? Because when the big propaganda, right, about Bitcoin is the fact that it's not traceable, right? Oh well, at least back in the days it was not traceable at all. Today, depending on the platform where you purchase it, it's going to be traceable. But back in the days when you have your Bitcoin wallet, right? and the way you pay with it will be untraceable. It's impossible to find out who did the transaction from where and where it was going and all that stuff, right? And then basically, since there is a lot of illegal activities like going on the dark web, right? So that was the preferred method. It became the preferred method eventually, right? A popular method to pay for goods there. And again, anything that you think it cannot be published on the internet, you will find it on the dark web, like people assassinating people, or people selling body human parts, or selling drugs, all kind of crazy things you can see there.
Right, but then you were also talking that not everything is illegal. Like, for example, you can find like forums or private social
Yes.
networks, the journalists like keeping sensitive information from the surface. So not everything is as bad as it looks, despite.
Exactly. Not everything is as bad as seen. Yeah, obviously there these bad sides where it's definitely not good to go and to explore. But you'll find all kind of. I would say it's just like the regular internet you browse, you'll find all kind of stuff, right? But again, when you ask what is the risk? Well, it's not restricted at all, right? I believe myself that the internet is actually very open already as it is, with very few restrictions. Well, just think about an internet where there's no restrictions at all. There's no one to monitor it, no one to say what can be done or not done there, and basically everything is permitted, right? So basically that's what you have to consider there. So no sharing like your personal information with anyone. Don't tell your real name to anyone. Don't post on any blogs or forums there any of your personal information either, or things like that. So you got to be just very careful, right? If you're browsing the dark web. Yeah.
And what about like government surveillance? Is there anything in place on that, or like nothing at all? And I mean, from what I hear from you, everything can happen, but is
Yeah.
like the government are also involved, or?
I'll say the government does monitors it, right? But the government basically does not have any means to restrict it, right? Just because of the nature of it. So the thing is, like, basically the government, what normally does is that monitors it. It always have, like, people that works in security monitoring what's going on there. What are the possible new threats that they can find there? What are the tendencies on there, and things like that? And that's why sometimes you see news from CIOs or cybersecurity experts, right, saying, "Hey, there's this new threat or this new thing, found here, found there," and it's not being confirmed, because sometimes it's just information or things that they were able to download or see on the dark web, right, before actually seeing in action, though. Actually, things like what you see, like for instance, when you use your email, right, that you could consider that a software as a service, right? You have a service, or email service. Basically, you don't have the server set up, the email server or anything like that. Or when you use Microsoft 365s now, that's the software as a service as well. Well, believe it or not, you can find as well like phishing as a service, and it's for malware, right? Or tools that bypass MFA as a service, and bad actors actually pay for those software as a service on the dark web just to have the service there, right? And to use it, just like a regular service you would pay for on the surface, the regular web.
So you can hire hackers or platforms that does all these type of things.
Basically, yeah.
Right. But also they can scam you easily.
Exactly. Yeah. So that's why I said that the problem is that you don't have anything that really assures you what is legit or not legit. So you will have to trust your own instincts and source from people that maybe in the real life, right? And to try to go to the right place or the wrong places. But basically, that's what it is.
Okay. Is there anything positive at all that we can take from the dark web?
I will say, regarding information, you might go there and see people posting stuff that it might be true, right? Or might be not. The only other positive thing is that at least by monitoring it, we can learn about the trends for malware and bad practices, right? From bad actors. Uh, so basically, yeah, that would be one of the positive sides, of navigating it and knowing it and know that it exists, right?
Okay. Edgar, do you have more questions, or I don't know if Rafael, places to escape from government monitor? Yeah, Kiran is saying that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes.
So
Yeah. Mhm.
I'm wondering,
Totally.
as a regular person, right, that perhaps you don't have any kind of technical knowledge, or your technical knowledge is limited. Would you, and maybe this person is curious, would you recommend that person to actually go and explore it? I mean, kind of, they already want to explore it, but would you recommend that? Because
I will
honestly, I don't
say
see how a regular person could get anything good out of it, right?
I would say if you're curious, right, and you want to see what it looks like, as long as you read about it and take the right precautions, right, and the right steps to getting it without getting crazy, right? You could do it, right? And if but as I say, it'll be something that like an experience, right? It's like when you want to go and jump in a plane, with a parachute. It's not because you need it; it's because you want to experience what it is like, right? I would say
Mm-hmm,
as long as you do it with having the right tips in mind, the right procedure, read about it, and understanding that you should not share any kind of information there, no matter what happens, right? Because obviously you don't have the good enough knowledge to know what to do and not to do there. It'll be just experience, right? Something to realize, wow, this exists, is there. It's always, I always heard about it and never seen it before. Yeah, it's
mm-hmm,
something cool to do. I mean, my point, yeah, as long as you do something for an environment that it's secure enough, yeah, sure, why not?
mm-hmm.
That's my opinion at the
Okay.
end, though. I'm pretty sure there's a lot of people who will not agree with what I'm saying, but I'm trying to be more realistic than extremist, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Okay. And have you experienced it? Have you tried
Yeah.
like
Yeah, so
going around
yeah, several
places?
times. Yes, yeah, several times
Mm-hmm,
just for training and for fun when I was a kid too, right? It's funny because I remember that there is this, I don't know if you ever heard about it, but it's just really funny knowing about that now. But when I was younger, I was like, maybe what, 18, 20 years old. I remember like me talking to my friends saying, no, you can get there because if you just get there, the FBI will come knocking at your door. Yeah, it's not something as crazy as that at all. Yeah, and just that the way that it works, even though if you do it unsecurely, right? It's going to be unsecure for you, but that doesn't mean that anyone will be able to trace you easily, right? Yeah, and they can if you click on the wrong places, right? But yeah, it's not like that you just get in there and then it's like an alarm from somewhere saying, oh, this guy just connected, he's a new guy, just go get him now. It doesn't work like that.
mm-hmm. And what about this, like more, um, how to describe them? More like movie kind of thing, where perhaps you're working, or navigating through these websites, and perhaps you get your camera on, and then in theory somebody's watching you and that kind of stuff. Is that
Well,
something really possible?
depending on the places where you fall, that's even possible with the regular browsing, though. Depending on the
Mhm,
places where you go and depending what you click on, and even if there's some permissions on your web browser, right? That if you have them enabled and you fall in the wrong place, yeah, everybody can. Yeah, I mean, anyone that has that capability is going to be able to see through your camera and see through your files and all that stuff. I don't know if you are actually seeing those videos from actual hackers, like getting into the scammers systems and that kind of stuff. And it's because of that, because the scammers think that, oh yeah, I'm the one that has the access to this person, and they're actually using that to back trace them, and it gets bad for them. Yeah. So definitely that's something to be aware, even on the real, normally web browser to browsing, sorry, the on regular day-to-day, activities though. Yeah.
Uh-huh. And you also mentioned you mentioned about some training that you were taking and that took you into exploring the deep or the dark web. So what kind of training? Because from my perspective, that would be always good when you're following some training and you have some, like guidance, right? It's not like you're just going places that you don't know anything about. So, what kind of training, if anybody else is curious, would you
Well,
suggest or
if you are interested on things like ethical hacking, right, or red teaming, cybersecurity, it's gonna at some point you're gonna have to learn about that as well.
Mhm. Okay,
Yeah.
got it. And finally, I understand that the thing with the dark web or the deep web, more on the dark website maybe. Um, to me, it seems a little bit like the internet when it started. Like perhaps services are not reliable, perhaps things are not discoverable, right? And it kind of really sounds like old school, but for any reason, people saw some space, right, to create different kinds of content. I actually
Well, I'll say it's a
remember I.
space where you have total freedom, like basically, yeah. And obviously when you say you have freedom in your own country, it has its own limitations, right? Because you have to have freedom with respect for the other ones, right? So I think in this case it's a total freedom, which not always is good, right?
Mhm. Right, right. Yeah, because I remember having seen some news at one point of one person. I think it's a pretty famous case. It had something to do with some rainbow or something, and it was a person selling drugs, I think, right? But to access it, apparently you can just point your camera, the cell phone, to some ad in the bus stop or something, and then you would be taken there. So it's kind of, I'd say, creative in the sense of how you can access it, right? But still, I think this person got caught. So it's not like, as we were saying, right? It's not, it's free, but, or at least it's like something or somewhere where apparently you can experiment and do stuff, but still there's some kind of surveillance, right? Even if there's no direct control, if we want to say it that way. So, um, I don't know. I think it's maybe it's worth exploring with the right knowledge, and if you are curious about it. Overall, I think that knowledge of cybersecurity, that are the basic tips that you are giving us, that's worth having, even if you are not going there, right? Because in the end, if we are also somehow exposed to those kind of things, right, we need to have the right tools to know how to navigate these kind of circumstances. And personally, I'm not sure if I would try it, because I don't consider myself a really savvy security person, cyber security person. But I have friends who are more adventurous, and perhaps they will. So perhaps my message would be just make sure that you know what you're doing and prepare, right? And maybe learn precisely, right, like the basic stuff and the stuff that you need to be as safe as possible, as you were saying, right? Yeah, cool.
I have I
All
have
right.
one more to say, because you were mentioning, Edgar, that it looks like the old internet, like when it
Mhm.
first started. And I was going through some videos on YouTube about people talking about it, and it looks like that. It's not even like it is, like it gives you the feeling, but it actually looks like very old school. It's nothing is super fancy. It's more like links, right, with maybe the author, or I'm not sure exactly how it was, but it's not nothing fancy. It's just like a screen, like a, yeah, like a page with all these links. So I have a question out of curiosity. I mean, who created this tool called Tor, I think, the Onion tool, and who maintains that? And like, I'm thinking about the backend of the dark web. Do you know that, Rafael?
Who created Tor? I don't know. I know that most of these protocols and all these platform is just a community effort. It's not just one person. It's just
Okay.
a big community. Yeah. Now, I really have no idea who created Tor though.
Right. Yeah. All right. Okay, so I think we are already there time-wise. Do you have any other question, Edgar or Rafael, if you want to, I don't know, tell us something else about this? Any other tip if we want to browse this dark web?
Oh, as I said, I mean, it's just I think it's just something good to know and kind of have an idea how it works, right? So just because of what I was saying though, when I was a kid, I just had a totally wrong idea of what it was or what it did. But yeah, I think it's something good to be aware of and to know a little about it. Though.
Definitely. So it's something that you might want to go in and take a look. No FBI is going to be knocking
As I
at
say,
your
that's something very personal decision, right? But I'm the kind of person that believes that as long as you read and get informed about something, if you feel like you have all the pieces and tools, why not? But again, that's my own opinion. I'm pretty sure there's a lot of people that will be, like not happy with that mindset. But yeah, that's how I look at it.
All right, before we wrap up, are there any like legal courses to like teach you how to
Yeah,
navigate the
yeah.
dark
As I said, if you're getting something that related to ethical hacking, is going to be legal courses that teach you how to go there and what to look for there, and what you should see and not see, or where you should talk or not talk, and where you should post or not, and all that kind of stuff. Yeah.
All right, perfect. Okay, Rafael, yeah, and another great session. I love these topics. We'll probably create some carousel with the tips that you shared with us today, so we can broadcast it on our LinkedIn account and everyone's aware about this. Thank you again for being here. Thank you everyone that joined us today for this quick tips edition. And then Rafael, I'm sure we'll have you back next month
Sure.
with another great topic. Yeah, I think we are good for today then. Thank you so much, everyone. See you next time.
Thank you,
Bye-bye.
guys. Thank you for having me,
Bye.
Gabby. Thank you, Edgar. Have a good one, guys.
You too. Thank you. See
Thank
you guys.
you.